Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Real Football Talk, and what a fantastic week of football we've had this weekend. I managed to watch a lot of the games, all of them live, so it's good. How's it for you, Adu?
Yeah, not so fantastic. The games have been a bit of a downer, but I'm sure you're making up for last week, isn't it?
I'm making
Watching.
up for last week.
Yeah.
I missed too many games last week, so had to catch up on them. Finally a week of break, so I could watch all the games. Um, but yeah, where else to start? Where else to start than at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? I can't take the grim off. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Listen, Roy Keane just made my day because he gave me all the ammos I need. All right. But yeah, two nil win for Spurs. I mean, what did you make of it all, Adu?
Yeah, United basically, completely lost their way. And it's stark contrast to the way Tottenham were. They started slow and they built their confidence and they built their belief in the system. And you can see in the second half, first half they were doing the same, but they just weren't as brave until I think like a Madison went on a run. And then they started, towards the end of the first half, and then suddenly they started to play a bit. And United, as usual, they've got a lot of players who are prima donnas, getting frustrated, thinking they have some right towards every decision, and it's just yeah, their petulance and childishness kind of got the better of them, and Tottenham just kept plugging away. That second half, they just doing what they're doing, playing their system, listening to their manager,
Yeah.
and eventually, they eventually put one of those second half chances away, because they didn't drop their way of playing, their belief in their system, and United completely were were playing and trying different things, and everyone's trying to be a hero. So
But
yeah,
this is what I was gonna say. It's not like I know they missed a lot of the chances, United, and obviously they had a great claim for a penalty that was not given. But it's not like you guys didn't have the chances. So for them to even like start acting like that is just weird because it was still nil-nil. You still had chances, you created chances. So and Tottenham didn't start well. It was United who started really well. So it's just it was just weird the fact that obviously they gave Tottenham so much control. And Bissouma, I thought in that middle, I mean he was running the show.
the thing with the Basuma is, uh, when they were struggling, he was struggling. And the problem was once United lost their shape, again they're acting like an inexperienced team. They're losing their shape, they're getting desperate. People are lunging in, pressing in areas that's not their area. You know, it's like headless chicken. It's like they've lost their heads.
Mm.
Just, it's 0-0 still.
This is what I'm saying. It's nil-nil.
Even if you look at Madison's run, it's like Mount is on the play on Madison. Why the heck is Casemiro trying to double up on him in the edge of their own box? One turn does both players. Anyone can do a turn. Madison's a good player. There's no shame in Mount getting turned, but a second player shouldn't be standing right behind him. You need to keep your focus on your job, on your role. And yeah, I think there's a lot of parallels between both teams in terms of how Ang Postecoglou has come in this year, and clearly is the leader, is given the structure, is given the template, is showing strong leadership. The way he took Romero off last week, he didn't care if he wanted to stay on. You can tell he's putting his imprint, he's putting the guidelines and rules in place, and
Mm.
the players know they have to follow it. You can see that. It was the same last year when Ten Hag took over. It felt exactly the same. And it's unbelievable that in the space of a year, it looks like United of 2 years ago. where
yeah, so
they're being prima donnas, sulking, not pressing, all over the place in their position, don't know what they. It's like no identity on the ball and off the ball. I was thinking, I'll be back social days.
you're taking the question out of me because that's what I was gonna use. I was gonna say this looks like a Ole Gunnar Solskjaer team. That's what,
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say because
plenty more
literally it
detail we
seemed
can
like
say.
back when Solskjaer was involved, when Rashford didn't want to play up front, and as soon as he came off, he was throwing the dummy out with the pram. Same with Fernandez moaning over everything. That's what he felt like. But the question to you is, you got on one side Ange Postecoglou, who's taken over recently. They see a team with Ten Hag, who's had it for over a year now. Surely his team should know on and off the ball what to do. And knowing the way how he is and how strict he is, isn't it disappointing and concerning the fact that this is what's still happening?
I think anyone who's watched preseason won't be surprised by this. I mean, they were not convincing in preseason. They're actually playing the same brand of football, as in this fast, dinking the ball over the top at every second, whether there's a run or not. Clearly, it was something that they had devised and worked on for as a target to get more points in away games, specifically against the top six. Well, they already failed in their first test. And the thing is, the way in which they're doing it, which is at every attempt, without any patience, without even working the openings, just keep sending the ball over the top, keep sending the ball over the top. They've gone backwards in terms of their playing style, and clearly the system change with Mount taking the place of Ericsson is a big problem, because positionally that's causing a huge problem, because
You just control.
not just control, but Casemiro he's like, the way I see, he's like Rashford at the moment. Rashford doesn't want to play up front. Casemiro doesn't want to do CDM. You can tell he just wants to press. The moment Ericsson came on, he's given a bit of license because they're chasing the game. He's clashing into players. He's winning the ball. He wants to play that free road. You can just see it. He's getting and guess what? We actually look better because he's creating stuff. He's making things happen. He's got a bit more drive. But in that CDM, I mean, I messaged it to you. It's like watching Maguire in CDM. He's a tank. He's a tank. Did you see a couple of the times when he got turned? The gap between the player dribbling with the ball and him running back. Within 2 or 3 steps is like 10 yards.
Oh my god.
Between Casemiro and the midfielder who had just dribbled past his, reckless tackle.
Listen, I don't need to say anything. You're doing my job for me today.
and that's how it is. I mean, it's always a concern when a CDM keeps slide tackling and diving in. That means there's a positional problem, and that means there's a problem within the team's organization and structure, that your CDM is that stretched that he's having to slide tackle all the time. He must have done about 5 slide tackles where he was nowhere near the ball, nowhere near the man. It wasn't even needed. It's like he does that as a ploy to try and, I don't know, disrupt the player. But if we're doing it that often, it just looks desperate. So I think the main problem with United is they've changed their structure. The personal change has forced them to play a bit too direct, too fast, when they clearly need that second pivot, that guy who's got a bit more patience on the ball. Casemiro is dinking it over all the time. Mount, other than pressing off the ball, I actually don't know what he does on the pitch, on the ball.
Yeah.
It's a shame, because I do think he has more to do, and when he does everything all right. It's just we don't play through. We're not playing through midfield. We're playing just get the ball out wide and dink it over the top. So there's no point getting a second turn.
Do you know what my thing is the fact that obviously Ten Hag came out during preseason and he said they are going to go for that more counter pressing and more direct game, and that's what they're looking at. And that's why when he said that, it made sense why he bought someone like Mount and stuff, because obviously then you could go and press a bit more and win that second ball and play that style. So it made sense. And then obviously when it come down to it now, you have to have two different ways of playing, and I think that's why Ericsson is so important, because he at least can give some that composure, or someone that can at least couple of slow passes to bring the other team out. Then they can hit those long balls to create the space, because or else it's an issue, and like we've seen yesterday.
I think that's the key point, is creating the space, because the problem, I think the idea was with the direct counter-attacking, counter-pressing style, was they were expecting a lot more pressing from teams. So in anticipation of the whole league going down this high press mode, that's what. But the thing is, teams aren't doing it. There's some of them are still in pre-season. The fitness thing, especially if you keep conceding the first goal, or United, the way they showed their inexperience, which is when they don't get the goal, they go so desperate that they overcommitting. They're going faster in their attack. We saw against Wolves how easy it became for Wolves to counter attack, and they were all counter attacks in the sense that it was one player from one edge of the box dribbling all the way to the other edge. That's a counter attack. It doesn't have to be a direct ball into the wingers, and if you're dribbling from one end to the other, it's a counter attack. So, and it's the same thing yesterday, in the sense that, all right, the goal didn't come from counter attack simply because United was so disorganized, even when they're getting behind the ball, or the lack of intensity in anything. And the thing is, you got Casemiro unfit. It's ridiculous. Everyone's talking about how unfit he is. You got midfielders on the bench. The problem is, it's gone back to the days where players are bigger than the club. So you can tell it. Look, Rashford ain't doing his job. Anthony ain't doing his job. There's quite a few players. Casemiro is unfit.
But there's no reason why they should be unfit. I do. They had the summer. They had the preseason.
I think the team ain't unfit. It's just Casemiro definitely is off the pace. And the thing is, they've isolated him, so he's got less protection. And because of this desperation or lack of composure, and lack of ability on the ball, what happens is Casemiro and all of them are just dinking the ball forward straight away. But the thing is, like I said, you have to create the space. Now, when you have when the team drops off and you don't create the space and you keep doing it, it becomes very predictable. Or you can't create clear-cut chances because the team is organized. The opposition, you haven't done enough to make them unorganized. But when Ericsson comes on, then what happens is you have that second option, because he's not running ahead. He's square of the midfielder. So then when you see everyone's dropped back, you got another option to play it to. Then someone has to come out. And this is the problem. I think they've anticipated a style of football that the two teams they've played against. And if you look at it on paper, Wolves aren't going to do high press.
No.
Not under O'Neill, anyway. Maybe they might have done under the previous manager. Yeah, but definitely not under O'Neill. So they should have adjusted that. And with this Tottenham team, they're learning the system. They're not going to do it that aggressively.
But what I was also gonna say, but even when Tottenham pressed, and then I think I texted you, I was frustrated with the fact that, say, the way the Tottenham pressed is they wanted to get the ball to Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And I was just so frustrated with how poor Anthony was at receiving the ball, because any option, I mean, Aaron Wan-Bissaka didn't have any options apart from Anthony. And anytime he gave him the ball, either Anthony tried dummying the ball or let it run through his legs or something. It was just so frustrating to watch. I'm like, how are you doing this? Like, come on, man, at least give him some help. What is going on? I was loving it, don't get me wrong. I don't want him to do well. Do you know what I mean? But as a football fan, come on, man, that's your basic. You have to
he's a pretender. You could see that even last year. You could tell he's a pretender. You could tell he can't handle the pressure of playing for a big club, or under pressure, the scrutiny or the expectation. You can just tell he can't handle it. And you can tell he's one of those players, probably Ten Hag has already realized, is playing him just to keep his value, just to get a sell on. He did it last year with, he tried it with Sancho and these. He's playing players, and that's the biggest problem I think United have got, is their season is really going to start when the transfer window closes, because there's so many players in that squad who already know United are open to selling them.
Yeah.
And that's what the problem is. You got you got Maguire, you got Maguire,
McTominay, Van de Beek. Well, Van de
McTominay,
Beek's already
Maguire,
advanced.
Van de Beek. But it's been going on for so long. You can't. It's impossible to keep
But
a squad happy, especially when they're on your bench already. You get it. So I think this, even though I praised Ten Hag for getting rid of players, it's clear that he still wants to get rid of more. But the one issue that's rearing its head is the choice of Fernandez as the captain. At the end of the day, it should have been Martinez. It should have been Caceido. It should have been someone who who actually is about the values of the club. Fernandez is a good player. He's our most creative player. When he gets on, even yesterday, the only time things looked like happening was when he got on the ball. But everything else about him is he's like every time I watch him play, he's more interested in being a coach than he is, playing the game and performing. He wants to advise
captain,
talk to
man,
all the young
captain.
players. But it reminds me of what Ronaldo did when he came back. He's more interested speaking to the young players in controlling this. He does doing a team talk after the manager's already done one. It's like fine if it's like Harry Kane style, a 10-second G up before they go to the that's fine. By the way, it didn't work for Tottenham when Harry Kane used to do it. But this is like he's actually giving a full on 2-3 minute talk. It's like, what is the guy on?
It was funny at
Nothing
half.
he says is more important than what the manager has already said.
It's funny at halftime. They pan the camera to Fernandez, and all you can see is pointing at the defenders, saying blurting something out. I just couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah,
I was like, "What you on?"
it looks like the issues of 2-3 years ago have come back, and again, it's because you've given the club, the captaincy to the club to a guy who, what do you do with Garnacho, Rashford, Anthony now? These are the players that Fernandez is close with. These are the players he's mentoring. These are the players he's, you know, working and understanding. I mean, you can't. You're minus two, 3 players every time you start in the game because Casemiro's so unfit, but you're leaving him
But
isolated in midfield on his own, and then you go Anthony and Rashford doing nothing
that's what I
off
was
the
gonna say.
ball.
Again, when the ball went to the left, you saw Rashford again. That old habit of, oh, you know what, I've lost the ball. Oh, I'm just gonna throw my hands up in the air and just not chase back because you know what,
But
it's not
even
my
in the
problem.
middle, when he's up front, if you see the effort he puts in closing down the center back, he's literally lumbering,
Yeah,
jogging. So few of the times that it's literally he's 1 yard away from the ball. He can make a difference to the accuracy of the pass being played into midfield.
100%.
He does not even attempt it, and I'll be honest, I'd prefer having a Weghorst over a Rashford right now. Weghorst, at least the amount of times balls was on because of his press.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
But do you
he
know what the other thing I didn't understand about Ten Hag as well? It's something he done because whether you like it or not, and what Fernandez does, but Fernandez in that middle was still the most influential player in terms of keeping that ball and creating that chances. So I didn't get it when he put Fernandez out wide again. I mean, you have Mount who's been non-existent the whole game. Why not put him out wide? He can play out wide instead of Fernandez, who's at least doing something in that middle. I completely didn't agree with that decision.
I think it's just a thing that's worked a few times during the last season, which is when they've put him on the wide, he's got a few assists. When he crosses that, he does that Gerrard or Trent cross field, and he's got a couple of assists, so it's like become a thing to try out when you run out of ideas because it's worked a couple of times.
Yeah,
But I agree with you. I mean,
it's
uh,
silly. I'm
the
sorry.
balance, but I do feel like United season's really going to start once the transfer season, because then he'll be able to have a meeting with the team and get them all focusing on the same goal. Right now, he can't have that meeting because he is actually trying to get rid of loads of players.
Yeah, Yeah.
So it's not it's hard, and you can see it. You can see that disunity and that lack of rhythm. Because of that, you can see it. So I just think, yeah, it's poor management in the summer has allowed this situation to create. Said we know Ten Hag isn't like Oli. I mean, he will deal with it, but I think he's probably understands he can't deal with it while the
Biding
club
his
is
time. He's biding
actively
his
trying
time.
to get rid of so many players or willing to get rid of so many of the players. And so maybe the whole thing hasn't been managed correctly.
Before we move on, I have to ask you this: what do you make of Roy Keane's comment? United, the new Spurs.
Yeah, but that's why we like Roy Keane and because you get all these pundits, and they talk, especially on Sky Sports and TNT Sports now. They all talk rubbish because the ex-players, they're more interested in
Backing their friends.
yeah, a bit like Roy Keane is like Michael Antonio and Callum Wilson. They say it how it
Obviously,
is.
yeah.
They don't care about upsetting players. That's what we want. And he said it exactly how it is. What Roy Keane said is what everybody can see. And there's no ex-player willing to say it on TV because they're worried about what? Fernandez refusing to handshake you for the rest of the season. That's what it comes down to, isn't it? These players
Yeah.
are prima donnas. They can't handle the truth. So I'm just glad because it just thing is, it's probably the best thing. Roy Keane has done Ten Hag a massive favor because whatever Ten Hag does, which is probably publicly back the players. The fact is, those players have pride. Some of them drawing attention to it.
It's gonna hurt the
You
ego.
know, there's going to be effort from Rashford next game, and because that's all they are. They care about PR more than they do about the club. Because at the end of the day, there's no justification for the lack of effort. Second game in, that Rashford has shown, it's absolute joke, and I'm glad he got called out. I'm glad Fernandez's antics got called out. I mean, so what if, like, I don't have a problem with the penalty not being given,
Yeah.
as long as if that's the new rules and the bar has gone higher, as long as for the rest of the season those type of handballs aren't given, I'm fine with it.
But
Problem gonna
this is
be
the problem,
when
Adi.
when those ones are because last year that's a clear cut handball. The hand was in an unnatural position. There was no deflection.
I did.
Player
Last
didn't pick
year,
up on
last
that.
year there was penalties given and fouls given for at the beginning of the season. Then they made it changes, and the other teams didn't get those same ones. So they were doing things within the season. My only thing is, like you said, it's about consistency. I've always said I'm happy with the decision of whatever they do, but as long as they're being consistent throughout the season. I don't want to go see the following week the same thing given elsewhere. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? That's where the problem is. I don't think VAR is the problem. I think the problem is those people applying the rules. Sorry, that's where the problem is because one week they're doing one thing, next week for the same thing they're doing something else, and that's where
yeah.
the issue lies.
I mean, the only thing I found dodgy was how long it took.
Yeah,
Because if the bar's going up and now you now consider having your hands up, is it gonna be? Then why did it take so long? It was so clear.
it should have been said. Yes.
So that's the only thing that tells me they're going to be inconsistent with it, and part of it is the non-Onana decision affecting decisions the following week. Are they doing that balancing
It
out?
shouldn't be. It's different people. So yeah.
Well, but at the end of the day, everyone's seen the news is the same. Everyone's seen the
Yeah,
news,
no, 100%.
seen the talking point. So we all have subconscious biases, subconscious. So I don't know if that is, but I found it strange. It took actually so long for them to check it.
Bef-
Uh,
Before we move on from this game, I do bit on Tottenham.
like,
I mean, Ange. I mean, second game in charge. What do you make of
yeah,
the
I
first
mean,
game? Obviously, draw. Great win against United now. Definitely gets the fans on board.
I mean, the good thing is they are trying to play an attacking brand of football. They are being very brave in the way they keep their wingers wide. And then Nagas and the thing is, you can see the benefits of that when you see players like Sa scoring the goal or the chances, or amount of chances Udogi had, because
Yeah,
the wingers are staying wide and the fullbacks are coming in. Porro hitting the bar. That's all because of the tactics of keeping the wingers out wide, which is slightly different. Like Pep likes them out wide, but they do cut in.
yeah.
Eventually, Ang doesn't like them cutting in. He keeps them out wide. So that was interesting. That's good. I can see what they're building towards. Not convinced by their performance, especially off the ball. They way too up. I mean, you can't forget, Anthony hit
Yeah,
the
but it's
post a minute after they scored.
yeah.
Kick off, bang. Anthony's, they. I don't want to overreact and say, "Oh my gosh, they looked to me." I still think they're going to be inconsistent during the
No, no,
season
100%.
because they're a bit too open, and still concerned about the leadership. I know the goalkeeper had a decent game yesterday, but in his first game, I saw stuff that
Yeah,
I
but
wasn't convinced
even
about
even
his
even yesterday,
ability.
I don't know about you. He doesn't fill me with confidence. A bit like even when Lloris used to be in goal. Do you know what I mean? You know he's a good shot stopper, but you know there's something there. You know something to be poked
No,
there.
no. I mean, I can say clear cut. I mean, I don't think he's got his technique is right when it comes to low shots. You
Yeah,
can see for those high shots, he's exactly like Lloris. He can do those camera shots, really good, and he's got
fling the
spring in his
legs
step.
over.
But I'm not sure about his position or his decision making.
Mm,
But at the end of the day, he played well yesterday. So
yeah,
yeah, all I'm trying to say, they played well. I like the fact that they stuck to their guns. They had more conviction and bravery in what they are trying to do as a team with their manager, which is embarrassing. Like Rookie says, embarrassing to question any player and whether they're doing what they should be. And this is the other thing, just to end on my ranting with United, is last year I found Ten Hag really refreshing when he used to speak, as in it used to always be quite honest. Now it feels like listen to Oli again, like it's delusion.
um,
Every game they were the better team. Like against Wolves, you weren't the better team. Yeah, I mean, I get it. You'll say a bit of the truth. Yeah, we could do this better. We could do that better. But stop going on like
I
you're
did
creating so many chances every
that
game. You're not.
that press conference was a bit jarring, man. I was like, is he trying to confuse the reporter or is he not trying to answer? What the hell is he
But
doing?
he's been doing that since the preseason, and it's like the performances aren't that convincing. The chances you're creating aren't that clear cut. They're just crosses. Fine, everyone will say, the Fernandez chance, he should put that away.
Yeah,
But it's still a header. It's still it's still a cross. That's all you've done. You're not playing intricate football. You're not opening up teams. I mean, how many teams have you seen? The teams we're going to speak about next, we're going to talk about teams actually creating real chances,
yeah.
proper chances. You can see the intricacies of what they're trying to do. Even the goals that Tottenham scored, you can see the build-up play. You can see how they're trying to open up
Yeah,
teams.
yeah.
United is just ping the ball, get across in the box, or ping it over the
Bit of
top.
hit and hope, to be honest. But what I was gonna say, one thing cause for concern maybe for Tottenham fans is I did see a picture of Madison leaving on a shoe brace. So yeah, what something to keep an eye on. But let's move on, Adi. Let's move on to the big game at the Etihad Stadium, where I mean they displayed their treble-winning season and celebrated it before the game started, and Julie won that game as well, 1-0 against Newcastle, who looked really good against Aston Villa. What did you make of it?
Didn't they show their Super Cup as well?
No, I think they're keeping it until end of the season. If depends on how many they win this year, maybe.
Wow, wow,
Maybe
okay.
I'm just saying. You know.
But yeah, I thought it was quite an even game, even though City looked comfortable. It's quite even at the beginning until Pep done his magic with his changes in terms of where the players start, and the whole game literally turned the moment Akanji went into midfield, and suddenly the dominance that they had when Akanji just stuck as a
Yeah.
midfielder,
Increase.
and basically Grealish moved into a wing back role. And this is the thing with the City right now is everyone else is now doing the inverted fullbacks, and now he's taken another stage further. He's now brought he's brought one winger in as a blooming wing back, yeah, and he's got the other winger playing as a second 10.
Fully.
You got Alvarez and Foden playing as 10s,
Yeah.
Haaland in the middle. You got Walker and Grealish playing wing back,
Yeah.
and then you're leaving two centre backs, and the other centre back is going into midfield. It's like, what kind of craziness is this, man? He's making these players so complete that they can do so much, and it's all about gaining that dominance on the ball. And once they get that momentum of just winning the ball back and
It's
dictating
it's
the,
it's a one-way streak, yeah.
yeah, you just know eventually they're gonna find the right path. Eventually, someone like Foden or someone will do some form of magic where they put it on a plate.
But
But what a finish from Alvarez.
it's yeah, no, definitely, and great touch from Foden as well. But what I was gonna say is it's all about Pep Guardiola and in overloading in different areas. That's what he looks at, is how he can overload the opposition, whether it's in midfield, whether it's the wide area, in different areas. How can they overload with the number of players they have? And I've seen that so many times where he does it and makes this adjustment. And I think the way he's evolving even more with getting his centre backs to go into midfield, or his left back or right back to go in midfield, or at some point like Walker was out wide, really out wide, almost as a right winger. The variation is just crazy, crazy, and they
Yeah,
look
I mean,
deadly. Alvarez looked good. Foden all of a sudden looks like, you know what, he's finding his feet. Only thing is, obviously, I think Haaland needs a goal, and then obviously he'll get going again as well.
but we're saying that, but you know, with even with Haaland, he's getting more involved in the link up
Yeah,
play, in the nice touches. He's spreading the ball out, and there are quite a few passes where it's just missed. Like they're playing the two, and it's actually good defending where they,
yeah,
because there's so much attention on Haaland. The It's like the defenders would rather stick to marking Haaland, even though that might be the more harder pass.
yeah,
So they're not falling for it because they're realizing the team most likely will pass to Haaland or try to set him up. And if some of those players start being a bit more greedy, they'll walk straight into the goal and have a shot for themselves
yeah.
because the defenders are committed so much to marking Haaland at the game. So I'm not too worried about that in the sense that Haaland will get chances.
No, no, he will, he will,
You can
he will.
see, you can see they're still trying to give him the ball, set him up a lot. Um, Probably, you know, you can still see they're a bit slow with it, and you know, he's making the movements at the right time, but maybe the players are releasing it quick enough for him. It was like that to start last season, then
Yeah,
they started to quicken it up. Again, I think a big factor is not having De Bruyne. So, you know, his numbers will get affected not having De Bruyne because De Bruyne got the ball into him early. De
yeah,
Bruyne knew
yeah. I mean, a lot of the like even Foden, Grealish, they all like to take the first, second touch, third
it
touch,
takes too many touches. Yeah.
and it's like he's already made. You can see a couple of times he's already frustrated because he's like, I've made the run, but you're playing the ball. It's too late now. He's going over me to the next person because it's too late. I've already made that run. But I reckon he'll come. They'll figure it out anyways. I mean,
Again, it only improved last season once De Bruyne was on the pitch.
yeah,
So
yeah.
he's out for 4 months. I don't think it's going to be 4 months. I think he'll be back earlier. But
But
um,
it's a reoccurring one, so it is a cause for problem.
yeah, I mean, he's been injured in and out of the team for a long time. He
Yeah.
played the Champions League final with an injury, he said. So, you know,
It's that
he's
Adu, it's the
got,
same injury. It's the same hamstring
yeah,
injury.
so
That's
it's clearly got a lot of injury issues, muscle issues that needs attending. So maybe, but I'd be surprised if he's out for 4 months. I think he'll be back sooner.
well.
Uh,
Listen, they need him in the business end anyways because they'll be there and thereabout, and they need him towards the end just to, you know, come and finish everything off for them. So it's perfect. Perfect for them. I mean, what do you make of Newcastle? I mean, they look solid. Wasn't as threatening, maybe. Isak
in
didn't look like he got much of a chance.
at midfield, there was no way any balls were
Nothing.
coming into him.
No.
Uh, I felt a few times when they played the ball back, they were able to open up Newcastle with half chances, but that's where the end quality comes in because those attacking players always made the wrong pass or overhit the pass or
Yeah.
that final ball. when they look like something, plus even quite a few times, someone breaking on the right wing, they overhit the pass
Yeah,
and
Almiron, a
make
couple of times. Yeah,
make them go to the corner flag. It's because you can't judge the pace right. So
yeah.
they're working pro. I was disappointed as I was looking forward to the game because I wanted to see Tonali against City, and he was nowhere to be
Yeah,
seen.
he wasn't. He wasn't.
Kamara showed up.
He wasn't.
Even the other Brazilian, Joe Linton.
Jolinton, yeah.
Even when the changes, I thought the changes made an impact on the game. Anderson coming on, Longstaff,
I really like Anderson so far. Every time he's come on, he
Harvey
looks
Barnes.
really good.
He looks
Um,
like he looks
really
like the right
direct,
midfielder for me.
confident, and
Yeah.
he gives them that creativity or something from that middle, that spark that they need.
Well, he was their best player during pre-season. He scored quite a few goals. Performance-wise, he got nearly most of Newcastle games. He got man of the match.
Mm.
Apparently, the jump he's made from last year to this season, the work he's done over the summer, is immense. His fitness levels have gone even more higher. And
Maybe that's one
he
to
looks
look
like
into.
a potential breakout star for this season,
Yeah,
potential, if he gets the game time. Because
yeah, but they can
he's
play
come
him.
on and he deserved it a bit more game time than maybe Sean Longstaff.
No, but what I'm saying is they can do it with potentially Tonali and Guimaraes, and then he can play that free role in between because he's got that energy. Because that might create more chances for Isak, because at the moment there's not much happening from the winger, from Anthony Gordon. I don't know what to make of him, but and I was surprised that Harvey Barnes didn't start, and then obviously you got Almiron on the other side again, decision making poor.
But Gordon played well in the first game, and I think it would have been harsh to drop him, even though Harvey Barnes was better. The game was won when he came on, so
Yeah.
Harvey Barnes again made it caused Walker more problems, and looked a threat. But Newcastle are going to be there. They're going to be, losing 1-0 to City away isn't a terrible
Isn't a
result,
terrible result. No,
and
no,
the
definitely.
performance wasn't bad.
No.
Uh, they were game, but it's just when City are on that mode where they're playing that tiki taka style and keeping the ball so well, that shows you how much respect they give in Newcastle.
Yeah, yeah.
They didn't want to lose the ball to them.
Well,
They
interesting
recognized
game.
the threat.
Interesting game next week. At Newcastle. You've got Newcastle versus Liverpool. Exciting to see that. But yeah, talking of Liverpool, what did you make of them? I mean, 3-1 win. Man down. Mac Alister got sent off. Seemed like they played better after the sending off than they did before. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, they had loads of chances. Um, Bournemouth played okay. I mean, thought they were Liverpool were lucky. They started shaky again. Trent got lucky, with the first goal being offside again.
And then gave away again.
But how they say he didn't make a play on the ball? You're trying to bring the ball down.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's clearly intention to play on the ball. So I thought that was a bad decision. That goal should have stood. Then to make the mistake again after already getting a warning to give the first goal away, but anyone who's watched Liverpool, um, he can't do it. I mean, when he comes into that midfield zone and anyone presses him, he does not know how to protect the ball.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
He's amazing at playing those balls and spreading the ball out wide when teams sit off him. But the moment someone marks him, he does not know how to look after that ball. He's not good on the ball. He's
Or how to create that angle, or that
doesn't
space
protect
for
the
him to do
ball.
the next pass, because he's just stuck. He just seems like he doesn't have the option, or as a midfielder, you need to have the ins and out of different way of getting out of the situation. Like a bit like what Bruno Guimaraes and stuff do. They know how to get out of the situation because of the different touches they do. I don't think he's got it. I think it's just that one when he's facing up, he's got the option.
But when midfielders sit off him, he's devastating, and that's the only aspect of midfield he can do. But the rest he can't do. He just hasn't got, not yet anyway. And
Let's move on. I mean, from Trent to Szoboszlai and Mac Alister, the two new signing. Obviously, their first home game. Mac Alister getting red carded. I mean, what did you make of the red card?
Definitely a harsh red card.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think everyone was shocked, and even anyone was complaining to that big degree. I mean, yeah, I mean the stars were slightly showing, but there wasn't real force in it, and yeah, I don't think that should be given a red card, and it
I think
wasn't in keeping with the match.
yeah, I think it would have been worse if the player like the Bournemouth player's foot was grounded, but because it was up as well, it doesn't look as bad. But if he was grounded, then you'd have been a lot worse. Um, but I mean, similar thing happened to Gapco. There was a high tackle on Gapco. I don't know what do you make of that. A lot of Liverpool fans saying that should have been a red card.
Yeah, I just think the referee got it wrong. They're both fine. You know, it's at the end of the day, it's those ones where the ball's there and it to be won on both
Yeah,
sides.
yeah.
And just because one manages to turn it before the other doesn't mean the ball wasn't there. Because you can't always anticipate the speed in which the other person is going to get to the ball. You can't anticipate that. Some people you're going to get there quicker, some people you're not. So, you know, if you genuinely believe you can go for it, there should be some understanding of they're going for a tackle and it's not as dangerous as it seems because they're both at
Yeah.
the end of the day, they're both doing the same action.
No,
Just
that's what I
one
was gonna
gets
say.
the
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 rule,
other.
or the letter of the law, it says obviously putting your opponent in danger, and I don't think obviously that does that.
Yeah,
Um,
sometimes the opponent puts themselves in danger by doing the same action. You know,
yeah,
what's the difference between the player and the tackler? It's the same action. It's just one gets to the ball quicker than the other. Do you get it? So there was no malice in it. There was no real force in it. I think that was definitely the wrong decision, but it ended up paying to Liverpool's advantage because I think bringing on Endo made them more secure. He definitely looked better, and the attack looked a lot better as a result of it. So
they looked a more
it
secure
definitely
team after
benefited.
that.
Yeah, and they were cutting through and opening up a lot more easier as a result because they're picking their passes, they're playing at a slightly slower tempo, and so they're able to cut them up more.
Agreed, agreed. What did you make of Sabas like? Because I thought attacking wise, he was really good. The bits I saw of his defensive wise, obviously that was after the sending off. I thought he was doing decent. But what was your thought? I thought it was a really good debut at home.
Yeah, I mean, scintillating on the ball, he looked an absolute live wire.
Athlete.
Um, driving past players, dribbling past players for fun. Uh, looks a real handful. I mean, that not just even Gakpo. I mean, that front five just looks absolutely menacing. I mean, it's going to be a nightmare for nearly every manager to try and contain that front five. It's scary, and the pace in which they do it. I mean, they're the one team you would say attacking wise is looking the most in gear, like sharp, and they got everything about them. I mean, you can sit back and they'll still cut you open. You can open up and they'll kill you on the counter. They've
Yeah,
got they've got all sides of their attack quite, and yeah, you can just tell it's only going to get better. I mean,
yeah.
and I think a big part of that, and we alluded to it last year, was the fact that they were playing Gakpo in the nine, the false nine, and we always felt that Jota is better at it, and you can see that already. Even though Jota's performances haven't been that great, he's still better at creating the space for Diaz
Yeah,
and
you
Salah.
say that.
Diaz is obviously not getting in
Yeah,
there more, but it's still Jota the way in which he creates that space for them.
I still think Jota was very impressive, even though obviously it's not maybe to the level of he was doing it before. But it's still, I mean, good for the goal for Diaz. It was Jota that created that touch, knocks it past the player, then pulls it back, and then obviously he gets the two goals as well. So again, it was Jota doing that magic, and I thought him and Diaz were just live wire, to be honest.
Yeah, and
Um, and even Diaz, I thought obviously he might have just got the goal, but the play, the assist before it, so on and so forth, it was all Diaz. He was causing havoc to that Bournemouth defense.
Yeah, because even there's one point we went past literally the whole defense, midfield dribbled through and checked, and probably should have scored to get turned down. But yeah, I mean they look really sharp. The defending still looks, a couple of times Semenya absolutely walked through the whole, dribbled through the whole midfield, a bit like how United are at the moment, where it just doesn't seem like there's a midfield there to defend against anyone who drives and runs at them. But again,
the balance isn't there. Don't you think the balance isn't there? It's a overpowering team, as in terms of attack wise, it's unbalanced. There's not enough players of defensive minded to cover that, because Trent wants to attack. The front five, including Szoboszlai, all want to attack. You got Mac Alister, obviously, as much as he is a bit more secure, he wants to join in an attack. So there's too many players that all want to attack, and there's not many that want to, be a bit more, blocking that.
But definitely, naturally, the role attacking players. That's what the problem is. But in this game, which was probably an improvement from the Chelsea game, was they were in the right position. They did get back, but their tackling was terrible. So even for a couple of the runs that Semenya made, it wasn't that the midfielders were out of position. It's just they don't know how to tackle because they're not defensive midfielders. They are attacking midfielders. So there's one was, Szoboszlai put tackling is like non-existent. And he just brushed past him. Same with Mac Alister. So they were better positionally at times, not all the time, at times. But even when they were, they didn't know how to tackle. They didn't know how to slow the runner down. So yeah, I mean, it's a work in progress for them. But Endo, that's why Endo's introduction made such a difference, because he straight away won the ball back 3-4 times. But what surprised me was he was true to Liverpool style. He was like a headless chicken. Once he won the ball back, he was sprinting forward as fast as he could, faster off getting into the box. That's so typical of Liverpool. The sign a CDM who can actually win the ball back, and as soon as he wins it back, the first thing he's thinking about is getting in the box.
But do you know what's funny? Do you know what's funny? Do you know what's funny is watching the video of Klopp introducing himself to obviously Endo when he first joined the club, and him going insane. And one of the first things Klopp said, we actually need you because we have too many attacking players. We need someone with a bit more, defensive mindset. And it was surprising to hear that he realizes it, but then he's not doing much about it. It's crazy. And then obviously now in this game, what you're saying about him obviously trying to bomb forward, it's like still a question mark there.
I don't think there's a question mark in terms of his positioning and knowing the role and how to play the CDM role. He picked up the ball well, he spread it, and a couple of times he put tackles in and won the ball. It's just once that counter attack is on, he joins in. Yeah. So, but that's not major. I mean, that's something you can easily,
Yeah, you can tell him to just sit back.
It's a debut, the Anfield effect. Attacking at the Klopp, probably wanted to impress as well. It certainly did. So I think it was positive signs for first appearance.
Yeah, no, definitely. Bournemouth, what did you make of them? I mean, tough game away. Obviously, considering last year they lost 9-0. Much, I think it's a massive improvement. I mean, they gave it a go.
A bit like last week, it looks like a team learning how to play, like learning and trying to do things the way the manager wants.
Yep.
And like last week, they looked better once the subs came on. But you can see they have better quality. You can see a bit of what the manager's trying. It's not convincing. It's like you can tell it's not natural yet. It's not in with them, in sync. It's a
Yeah.
work in progress, and I think it's one of those things. Both games, I think it's one of those things where if they take the lead, you may see the confidence come out a bit more, and you may see them like go for it. I mean, I know they did take the lead against Liverpool, but Liverpool's one of those teams you're
Yeah.
never safe with the lead against them because they're just going to go for it all the time. You know, whether you high press, they're going to cut you open. So it's a bit different with Liverpool, but I think they probably need a win, and then you will start really seeing the
But it's not even
confidence
that. I think obviously those a lot
and
of those
belief in the coach.
a lot of those frontline players are obviously all brand new, so they're not fully aware of each other's runs and the timings, etc. So it's not fully synced. I think that takes a bit of time. So once obviously that's fully embedded, I think they'll be much more in line because a lot of the issues they were facing attacking Liverpool because they had the opportunities. They picked the right gaps. They were in between, but obviously the timing of the ball or the timing of the runs were wrong. Every single one of the opposition sorry, every single time. So that's where the issue was for them. But obviously, new players, that's what's gonna happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the building blocks of what they're trying to do, and I think once they get a result, the confidence will start flowing, and that positive style of football they're playing, they'll get more confident with it.
100%, 100%.
So yeah, I think they'll be all right.
Let's move on from Liverpool. Let's move to West Ham versus Chelsea. I mean, 3-1 win to West Ham, who obviously had a man sent off a crucial time. A torrid debut for Caceido. Let's say giving away the penalty. What did you make of it? I mean, Chelsea looked really good in the first half, flattering to deceive. That's what it seemed like.
Yeah, well, West Ham were just lucky that first half. Chelsea should have been out of sight. And it just, everyone knows the problem they have up front, and they still got those same problems because, um, and they're compounding it with the decisions they're making as well. Because if you have Sterling playing on the left, when if Jackson's that type of striker that is going to work the whole
Ade,
back line,
Ade, if you
when
if
he
you
goes
could,
onto the wings, the way.
Ade, if you could go back on your point because sorry, it just broke up.
Yeah, so I was saying it's like they're compounding the issue because they already have a lack of goal threat, and then if they were playing Sterling on the left more, then he times his run and goes into those striking positions,
Mm,
and it would work well because Jackson is working the whole line, always going into the wings. He's a busy striker, so that would work well. But by putting him on the right, he doesn't get in the box as often. He's most playing the ball slightly deeper, and I thought he played well in that first. That's the best we've seen him. But you see, the penalty comes from that left hand side, and him driving in. You can see the difference, how much more comfortable he is when he's given that license to play from that side. And I think that's they're really missing a trick in that sense. But yeah, their problem was that for all their good play, they didn't have anyone in the box.
no.
They didn't look like scoring,
Well, it
testing
was
Areola enough for my life. A lot of promising play, good play.
it was a lot of the time it was just pretty much Jackson breaking through or battling and winning the ball. And there wasn't enough players around him to actually impact because obviously Chukwuemeka was trying to make up for it, but that's not enough numbers because West Ham had like 4, 5, 6 players back against 3. So that's not clearly enough numbers to be there to be effective. So I mean maybe they could have done something like what what's their name? What Tottenham were doing with their fullback. Maybe Chilwell and Gusto, they need to bust forward a bit more because or else it's not going to help enough because there's not enough players in the box.
But I think they're playing slightly different system where Sterling and Chukwuemeka are playing more inside. So
Mm,
they're doing it the other way around, where the wide wing they're not playing wide wingers, they're playing inside forwards. So they want the opposition defense to be narrow to create the space for the wing backs, which is something that is what they're doing. They do like to play that ping into Chilwell across the pitch. But yeah, at the end of the day, they haven't got the result, and this was a game where they could have got a result. They should have got a result really,
Yeah.
especially when West Ham were a player down. But they just lack a know-how, a cutting edge, a bit of ruthlessness, and yeah, they're another team. You can see them doing better once they get a result.
I mean, it's they're young, right? So I reckon that's going to be an issue throughout the whole season. It's similar to what we saw, I think, Arsenal about 1 or 2 years ago, where when they went on a run, they went on a run, and then when they hit the blip, they were in a blip or in a struggle because they lost the confidence. I think it might be a similar thing because there isn't any real leader there apart from, say, for instance, Thiago Silva.
But he's not even playing like a leader. I mean, the amount of times he got dragged into by Antonio. He's trying to, he's getting sucked in by Antonio too much,
Yeah,
Bowen or someone else. And Colwell's position is terrible. Disasi is trying to cover for both of them, but he can't. That back line is too weak, and a lot of it is because the fullbacks and the wing backs are nowhere to be seen. So Colwell a lot of times is pushing forward because he's anticipating potentially having to intercept the balls into the right winger.
yeah.
And then what happens is when the attack happens on the other side, he's out of position. And hence why Antonio had a free run getting in that gap because ultimately Colwell is in the wrong position. If you have three centre backs, how is Antonio getting into that position
Well,
in between
how is
three centre
Antonio
backs?
how is Antonio running at Thiago Silva is my question. I'm sorry if you got three centre back. He should be the last person that he runs at either side. If he goes on the left hand side, it should be Colwell that's dealing with it. If he goes past Colwell, then okay, you can understand that what Thiago Silva needs to step in. But there was times where it was just him running at Thiago Silva. I'm just like, where's Colwell? Do you know what I mean?
Because I think positionally, especially Colwell was stepping into midfield or focusing on the winger too much,
Mm.
and forgetting his primary role, which is to protect the center of the goal. So definitely, yeah, they need to brush up on their defending. I mean, West Ham had chances throughout, even though they defended and they're holding on. When they broke, they were able to break through Chelsea.
I don't know about you, but I don't know. I was disappointed with Benrahma today because I just felt like there was a lot of opportunities where he just kept trying to go for the shot. I don't know why. There was times where he could have just laid it off or played the guy on the outside run. He didn't, and then he just held on to it too much. And I was like, you just killed the move. But I must say, I did enjoy Paqueta's passion and him sticking it on Caicedo, to be honest.
Well, I thought it was a hard gig for Caicedo. He's coming in, and then they're literally looking to him to dictate the whole game. It's strange when you got Enzo Fernandez on that team, and the Fernandez goes into the strange, attacking right
For
wing
10 almost.
position, and it's like this is strange. Like what kind of system are they actually playing? Yeah, but on the right hand side, I find it strange, the choices they're making, and yeah, we can't forget good performance from Ward Prowse,
Definitely.
good
Definitely.
debut,
2 assists.
and yeah, and yeah, I think West Ham. That's the perfect game for them. A team coming onto them, leaving gaps. They like to low block, counter attack. That's their bread and butter. So it ended up being perfect for them.
Mm.
Uh, as he played into their hands.